Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you. Welcome to everyone who's tuning in live and those who are tuning in through the replay. It's an honor to be with you. Today, what we're going to do is do a little bit of meditating to begin our time together in this virtual group session and community circle. And then we're going to open into transmission, which I could also say we're going to open into a healing session. For those of you who are new, my name is Ken Stone. I am known as the soul archaeologist because I help people kind of uncover and experience the divine within their inner treasure of divine presence. And for the last number of years, I've kind of resisted referring to myself as a healer. And now I've started doing it again. I guess I'm beginning to embrace the inner healer within me. In any case, I guess we could refer to our time together as a healing session. Though I want to be clear, if I was working with you one-on-one, I wouldn't need to know more than I do here sitting with you virtually in this circle. And in fact, it doesn't matter whether you're tuning in live or whether you're participating in the replay. There is a transmission that is going on, and it does not originate within me. It's actually a transmission or an enlivenment of divine presence within you. I would say that's the most succinct way I know how to describe the way that God's expression through me shows up when I sit with other people. So just by way of introducing our time together, we'll do meditation, we'll go into transmission together, and then I'm actually going to move what for the last number of weeks has been kind of an interactive hello, greeting, Q&A, and so on that sort of happens in the middle between the meditation and a deeper level of the transmission. We'll move that into our third segment together today. So we'll start with meditation. We'll go into transmission. We'll keep the transmission open when we're interacting and Q&A and so on, and then we'll drop into a quiet space to conclude the transmission before we conclude our time together today. If this is your first time on the channel, I want to welcome you and invite you to subscribe and click the bell to be notified so that you know anytime I post a new video or go live. And if this video resonates with you, please do give it a thumbs up. As far as I know, we're broadcasting live over a number of different platforms: YouTube, Facebook, on my professional Facebook page, and on my personal Facebook page, as well as potentially over Periscope on Twitter. What I know from past experience is that folks that are participating live who are commenting on my personal Facebook page, I don't see those until later. So if you'd like to go over to my professional page, I'm pretty sure there's a link somewhere. Maybe I could put a link up. If you'd like to go over to my professional page, it's not that I'm not interested in having you watch or participate on my personal page. It's that I won't be able to see if you comment. So let me just grab the link here. Oops. And post this over. I guess I could have thought about this ahead of time. And then if you're on my personal page and you'd like to make comments and so on, you'll know how to get to that. Okay, I think the link is updating there. And let me see if there's anything else to say up front. Oh, if you are listening, just participating with your eyes closed or doing something else, I want to invite you to stop doing that for a couple of different reasons. And I'll say this again once we get going, because it's sort of part of the process of me opening into transmission. But the reason why I say that, and if this is your first time, you might be thinking, you know, Ken, I've known you for a long time. Maybe we went to elementary school together if you're on my personal page back in Grinnell, Iowa. And you're thinking, why wouldn't I want to drive a car while I'm having this experience? It's just you. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is oftentimes when I sit with people, I mean that virtually, it doesn't matter if we're sitting or walking or talking or even not connected, except on an energetic level, that is in transmission, but not even on the phone together. Oftentimes people have an experience of going to sleep and they don't know when it's going to happen. It's almost like my voice will disappear and they'll just drop in at a deep level. So for that reason, please don't operate a motor vehicle or do anything else while we're hanging out together. For everyone else who is familiar with the process of sitting together, maybe there are people who've been in the community for a long, long time, 10 or more years. It's such an honor to be with you. Before we do anything else, let's gather in our circle now and get started, shall we? just invite you to get comfortable and bring your attention inside. And anytime we get together, it's so, so important to stay in your own energy. There's so much going on in the world, challenges coming up, health challenges, all sorts of different things. And it's really tempting to want to send energy to people or include them in your awareness or in your thoughts when we're sitting together. Best way to include them, invite them to participate. They can listen or tune in, watch the replay, etc. But instead of sending or redirecting energy to anyone else in the circle or anyone else in your life, just be with your own experience. It's a much more powerful experience for you and actually for everyone else too. We can talk more about that in our interactive time if that's of interest to you. And as you begin making your way energetically into our circle, I just invite you to close your eyes, begin breathing in and out through the nostrils, palms to the sky. And as always, please don't operate a motor vehicle or heavy equipment of any sort. As you find that place that resonates most for you, you don't need to hold an intention. I'm not going to hold an intention. We're just going to sit and sink into an experience of the divine within. But that's just the name for something that is unnameable. What I mean to say is what follows is whatever comes up into your awareness and your experience. And it's perfect, whatever it is. In my email earlier today, I talked about trust. Here's an opportunity. We get to trust and sink in to that deeper experience of the divine mystery. As you find that place in the circle that resonates most for you, deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before in this day, all the way out to the count of 8. Another deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since we last gathered. And if we've never gathered before, let go of the breath for everything that has come before since the start of the year, all the way out to the count of 8. And another deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since you were born, all the way out to the count of 8. The head, the thinking, the dominant ways of processing information, the heart, the ways of feeling and the dominant narrative and experience of your emotions, and the hips, the way of being that has been dominant of late for you. Release all of this, all the way back to your birth. And one last deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since the inception of your soul, all the way out to the count of 8. The head, the heart, the hips, the mystery. With your eyes still closed, with your imagination or in your mind's eye or on the intuitive screen, however it presents for you. Notice the cue of breath in front of your face. You breathe in a unit of breath through your nostrils, up to the crown, and then down into the lungs. And another unit of breath enters that cue at the back. And each unit of breath as it advances, when you're ready to breathe in, comes into your body without any condition or criteria. There's no test. It doesn't matter the origin, the origin of your ethnicity. I'm trying to say ethnicity of your origin. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are. It doesn't matter your political perspective, how you feel about the latest topic, contentious topic in social media. It doesn't matter what religious background you come from or whether you have a religious background or not. It doesn't matter how you've been behaving or the thoughts you've been thinking or the things that you've been feeling. The breath comes in to serve you and support you fully without condition or criteria. And notice again in your mind's eye, as you just sit with this cue, breathing at whatever tempo feels right to you, a color beginning to infuse itself into the cue, almost like someone has put some food coloring into the breath. But the breath now is like water, and that food coloring, that color is infusing itself through the entirety of the cue. It might be a static color or it might be dynamic that's changing. It might present itself to you or you might assign it. Maybe it's up to you to imagine what color it is. And if you're picking a color, maybe pick one that's not otherwise present in your body except perhaps in your eyes. And with the next breath, be with the breath from the perspective of the color as you come in through the nostrils, the crown, and down into the lungs. And now, as you sit in the lungs in your mind's eye, just notice as you continue breathing this color coming in and what it does, the movement of the breath. That color is leaving a trail, evidence of how the breath is moving through you. It coats the lining of the lungs. It moves into the bloodstream from there. And then eventually that color infuses itself into each and every cell of your body. And there's a simple conclusion we can draw from this, or a statement we can make. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. And just be in the interior of your experience and notice when you begin sensing resonance with that statement. You might feel it physically in your body. You might know it intellectually. Sure, oxygen, lungs, bloodstream, cells. Yep, breath is becoming me. I am becoming the breath. You might see it intuitively, or you might be imagining that you can see it. You might sense it in other ways. Just honor whatever your level of resonance is and whatever way you perceive that resonance with that statement. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. And if we shift perspective for a moment, just to notice other things that the breath is doing, now noticing, instead of perceiving from inside the lungs, noticing the breath of the planet. Perhaps we backed away from the planet at some distance so you can see the totality of the planet and the breath, the atmosphere of the planet. And notice the breath of the planet is serving you, your cue of breath, just the same as it is anyone else in the dwelling or space where you are now, and your neighbors and your neighbors' neighbors, and so on and so forth. In fact, we could say the breath of the planet is supporting every person who's participating in this virtual group circle, wherever they are on the planet. And it's not just us in this circle, it's everyone, isn't it? And sometimes that can bring up some dissonance. You might feel a little contraction in your body or a thought moving through. Wait a second, there are some people I don't agree with, and there's that person who's behaving in ways that I don't think are moral, or I don't agree with that, or that doesn't resonate with how I see the world. I don't want to think about my connection to them. You don't need to think about it. You're breathing the breath that ultimately is the breath of the planet. It serves everyone without condition or criteria. It's a mirror, a reflection of an innate connection that we all enjoy. But that connection isn't about my stuff or your stuff or that person's stuff. It's just a connection that is innate to all of us, that we can experience in this way through our breath. And in fact, it's not just a connection with people, is it? The breath of the planet is serving not just everyone, but also everything: the trees, the rocks, the water, the fish, and so on. We could say with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything above, upon, and within the planet itself. Indeed, you may become so present to that breath that you can feel as though you are breathing by and for and of the planet itself. Again, just notice those experiences of resonance in whatever way they are showing up for you. Could be buzzing in the body, tingling in the body, could be resonance in thinking. You might see it intuitively or in your imagination, or many other ways that that presents. And whatever it is for you, in whatever way you're experiencing that, it's perfect. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. It's not incomplete if you're not having the experience yet. It's all good. The breath of the planet becomes the breath of the cosmos. For at the very edge of our atmosphere, that breath touches space, and in turn, eventually every other part of space. And so we can say, with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything in the cosmos, including that energy that underwrites everything else, the divine, a light perhaps at a great distance initially, originating on the other side of the cosmos, perhaps, drawing closer and closer to you with each breath that you draw in and release, eventually close enough that you can perceive by whatever means the twin frequencies that together comprise this divine light, the frequency of the divine itself and the frequency of perfect health, intertwined such that there is no separating one from the other. Not just perfect health as we understand or comprehend it as human beings, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and otherwise, but every iteration of perfect health, known and unknown. This light eventually connects in at the nostrils, perhaps initially, and then instantaneously throughout every aspect of your being, extending an invitation to each of the smallest aspects of your human expression. Come, return to your natural state of resonance and alignment. As that happens, you may even experience a sensation or many in your body, the artifacts of dissonance appearing to fall away and gather at the universal drain. For whatever remains in separation, I invite you to remove the universal plug. I'll do the same. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. The divine is becoming you, and you are becoming the divine. Let's begin. If you're new to an experience of transmission, of group session with me, I'll tell you, and I just invite you to keep your eyes closed. You can open them if you like, but invite you to return, if it's comfortable for you, to an eyes closed experience. Sort of funny to be gathered on a video feed with all of our eyes closed, but there's this opportunity to be with the interior of what is unfolding for you, perhaps more fully, more completely, with your eyes closed. Nothing out here to distract from what is going on in here within you. If silence without direction is uncomfortable, you can take the short form of the meditation we just explored, which I call divine connecting breath, and just remind yourself of this. Anytime the mind wants to jump forward or jump back, to move into the illusion of something other than what is now. With each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything in the cosmos, the divine, the light, the twin frequencies, connecting into each of the smallest aspects of you, known and unknown, the invitation to return to your natural state of resonance and alignment, the artifacts of dissonance appearing to fall away, and leave your field through the universal drain. The divine is becoming you, and you are becoming the divine. Or perhaps you could just follow the breath. Just be aware of the breath moving. Nostrils, crown, lungs, eventually deeper abdomen, hips, and so on. And then back up. Nostrils, the new cue, and so on. If you're new, you may have heard me say this at the beginning. I want to remind you now. It may not be normal to have an experience in transmission or in a healing session and not hold an intention. You might have been taught or have experienced, if you hold an intention, it's a way of focusing and increasing the impact of the session. I want to suggest to you that there's an even deeper, more resonant experience that is available to you if you drop whatever intentions have been top of mind for you on whatever level. If we are all undistorted extensions and expressions of divinity, we don't need to tell God what to do we? If that light is shining in through every aspect of our being, we don't need to slow down or direct the divine flow, not to return to resonance physically, emotionally, or in other ways, and not in any aspect of our lives. For everything begins in the deep interior below, and eventually, with enough embodiment and integration, that resonance expresses in the outward above. Many different ancient expressions affirm this, perhaps the most simple, as above, so below. And here's an opportunity to experience what that means, to sink in below. You might be thinking, well, wait a second. I always thought as above, so below meant if I got things squared away above, then the below, the interior, would be peaceful. You're saying the opposite? Yes. The divine does not need to be directed. I hold no intention. In fact, whatever is happening as we're sitting here together, I'm having whatever my experience is. In my case, it's hands and feet buzzing and other things are going on. Pictures are showing up, ideas are coming in to share, my mouth is buzzing, etc. I don't know what it is for you. I'm just inviting you to let go of the things that are familiar for you. And if intention or mantra or focus on a particular thing, an experience, a feeling are part of that, I just invite you to experiment with dropping that now, letting it go. And if your mind is used to having something to focus on, just remind it with each breath, you are focused, you are connected, you are breathing the breath of the divine. The divine is breathing your breath. The divine is becoming you. You are becoming the divine. With each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything, the divine, the light, the twin frequencies, and so on. And if your mind needs nothing, then let go. And if my voice is beginning to fade away, let it go completely. Nothing that I'm saying is really all that important. It certainly is not the method of conveyance of this transmission. The method of conveyance is a connection that exists within you, that is already there. It is your innate connection with divinity by whatever name. And for whatever reason, it's difficult for me to understand, even more difficult perhaps to try to explain or describe in some ways. The way that the divine expresses through me in this way enlivens the divine in you. It opens up a deeper experience of what is below the thinking, below even the feeling, down to the being, and eventually even below the being. And it's my experience that if I try to direct energy in this sacred space, it radically limits the efficacy of this experience for each participant. Whereas if I simply get out of the way and the divine is what is moving, I being the separate I, and all that is here is the one, not just the one within me, the one for us, the one that is here, then eventually these experiences begin to bubble up at the level of the physical body, at the level of feeling and thinking, and eventually bubble up into the outward expression of our lives. For as above, so below. And if other things are coming up, perhaps there's a discomfort in your body or a memory of something. There's another thing that happens when the divine expresses through me in this way in transmission. The name I call it is soul embodiment, but you could think of it as the essence, the individuated expression of the one coming home within the vessel of your being. The soul descends, perhaps as high as the crown of the head or even just above, down all the way through the vessel into the hips, home in the body. And that feeling might be very different for you. It might feel as though gravity is being turned up. It might stir up emotions or experiences that you haven't had in a long time or ever. It might not make any sense. It might create tears or a profound sense of awe or wonder. Whatever it is, be with it fully. It could bring laughter. For the experience of the divine within is joyous on so many different levels, in so many different ways. Whatever it is, be with it fully. That's the invitation. That's the opportunity to sink in and experience, be who you really are. Not that loop that runs in your mind. I don't want anyone to see this part of me. If somebody knew or anyone knew who I really am, they wouldn't even want to talk to me, much less love me or like me. That's the separate self. That's the belief and perhaps even experience. Could be a profound experience of disconnection within yourself or of a deep darkness within. Yet in the end, when we open up, all there is the light, the shadow, or artifacts of separation, this extraordinary gift given to us by God. A gift that, yes, is the origin of all pain and suffering, no doubt, and also the pathway home. Eventually, that we may uncover and experience who we really are and begin living our lives, engaging in relationship with ourselves, the divine, and one another as we really are, not in separation, not in disconnection, but in a connection that is so innate. We can't even refer to it as a connection. It just is. It is the most foundational and fundamental aspect of any part of your human expression. No matter how dissonant or noisy that aspect may appear or have appeared to you in the past. Something extraordinary happens when we open into an experience of the divine. Many different aspects open to deeper resonance. What does resonance mean? It means whatever it means to you. Could be resonance in the body, return to health, lack of pain or discomfort. Resonance might be a sense of peace that surpasses all understanding and language, that envelops every part of your being, life, and the world. All of these things are here below. Not because we direct them, because they are artifacts of who you really are. And by opening into the experience of who you really are, something extraordinary begins to shift. I could speak many words about what this is, or I could say nothing. Nothing is required. Mind you, the divine is within, no matter what you have done today or in your life. No matter how resonantly you may have behaved or treated others, or no matter how much dissonance has been present in your interaction with yourself or others, no matter what you've done to anyone else, no matter what has been done to you, the divine is within in full measure, not partially there waiting, testing to see, will you believe something in particular? It's not to dismiss beliefs. It's simply to say the divine is unconcerned. You may hold whatever beliefs resonate with you. Still, the divine is here underneath everything else. And so it is not just for you, but for everyone. That just as this is not a projection of an idea or a projected feeling, but an experience that is unfolding at least at the level of being, perhaps even deeper. So, too, this experience is available to anyone and everyone. When challenges come up to be addressed, perhaps if you wish to deploy all of the resources of the divine presence within you, you could sink in to this experience first before you try to do anything. For the perspective of this feeling experience is very different than the thinking about it or the reflecting or memory of it. And if it has never happened before, well, then those resources are limited by your imagination. And as profound as your imagination is, it is limited. Without a doubt, it is limited. Yet the divine is not limited. The divine expression through you, in you, and as you is not limited unless you limit it. What are some ways you could limit the divine? You could hold an intention. An intention is like a stop sign to God. I've got this covered. No need for you here. I'll tell you what to do. What might you do instead? Just drop the stop sign. Let go of the intention. Release it with your next breath. It's that easy. And open further into the experience of the mystery within. I'm experiencing a lot of resonance as I'm witnessing, as I'm facilitating our experience right now. And the resonance for me is showing up primarily in my feet and in my hands. When my feet buzz, that's how God tells me that the resonance of who you really are is returning on an energetic level. And when my hands begin buzzing, that's God's way of communicating to me that that resonance is now extending into the 3D. Now, maybe that's your experience, maybe not. It's okay. I'm not telling you this to say, here's what's happening or to try to direct anything. I'm just reflecting from my perspective. That's what I'm experiencing. And it's not about any individual, it's about the collective. And you might be thinking, well, I'm watching this and you did that back on, I don't know what today's date is. I can't think of the date right now. Is it the 6th of May, maybe? Let's say it's the 6th of May, 2020. That session happened 2 months ago or 2 years ago. And here I am watching this video, but I'm having an experience now. Everything is now. From my experience, from my perspective, the collective experience of everyone sitting in the circle is everyone and anyone who will ever participate in this now, not individually, the aggregate experience of the total. So as that resonance comes in, that's a meaningful transition. If we were to talk about it from a healing perspective, that physical resonance that I'm feeling in my hands would be, from my perspective, an indication of, let's say, reduction of physical discomfort and a restoration of the body as that undistorted expression of divinity. If you say to me, well, how is that happening? I don't know. God's doing whatever God is doing. It's really between you and the divine. I've used the term witness before, and that can lead to a deep philosophical discussion about the observer effect and so on, and all the quantum physics involved in that. I'm not affecting it. Let's say it this way. I'm having an experience of you. I believe the best way I could articulate it is in the way that God perceives you. That sounds like a bold claim. I'm not trying to make a bold claim. I'm just saying it's not about something that I'm directing. It just is. So don't get caught in a cycle of how does this get created. It is underneath everything else within you all the time. All the time. One way to test that out would be in an hour or two, just turn this on again. Play it again. You can skip the beginning, start where we start doing divine connecting breath. I don't know how many minutes in that was, but whatever. Close your eyes, begin breathing in and out, hold the breath, etc. Start there and just go forward and see what happens. Something different always is arising because the experience with the divine is a live connection now, now, now. Always now, always here, always now, always whole. The point of this digression was to say my mouth is starting to buzz, and so perhaps it's time for me to open my eyes and to begin to interact even as the transmission continues. Now, people have been in the community for a long time who have done this kind of work with me before, sat in circle virtually or in person on retreat, or maybe we've done one-on-one work together. You know that you can just, or been in class or whatever, if the conversation that's going on is becoming a distraction to the intern, you just turn off the volume or mute it. It's not about what's being said. There's a deeper experience, the transmission originating between you and the divine. And if the conversation's interesting, great, participate in it. If you have a perspective, if something doesn't resonate with you, mention that, put it in the comments. You just want to say hi. The thing about the live stream is I don't know that you're there until you say hi. And once you do, then I do. And I'll do my best to acknowledge, and we'll have some time. If there are questions coming up in the circle, great. Happy to answer anything that is up for attention. Ultimately, I believe that my role, my job, if you will, my divine mission is really about supporting you in uncovering and deepening your relationship with the divine on your terms, in whatever way is most meaningful for you, that relationship open up at such depth that the awareness and the experience of divinity is primarily happening through you, within you, for you. That the questions that are intriguing to you might eventually just be asked internally, and that in service to that process, I offer you my perspective and the gifts that God expresses through me in transmission and so on, but not to try to set some dogma or say this is how it is. I can only share, and I'm limited by my own perceptual view. I can only share from my perspective. I offer it to you to perhaps open a deeper exploration within you. But the absolute correctness of any particular perspective isn't meaningful, I don't think, in this conversation, in this circle, because we're all perceiving from different perspectives. So if you are asking a question, ask yourself before you pose the question into the chat, am I trying to make a point, or am I really asking something here? Is it really a question, or am I wanting validation from my perspective? Don't ask if it's validation. Don't make the point. If it's a question that you're open to an exploration on, ask and see where it leads, what dialogue and exploration follow, and realize that the transmission that is innate within you, the bond, the connection with divinity, this is where the carrying wave of awareness and presence is unfolding within you. So there may be a much deeper answer that comes in through that channel that isn't even related to what comes out of my mouth. Not since the beginning, and not once we enter dialogue, if in fact there is to be a dialogue today. With that, I'll open my eyes and see who's on the line, what's coming up. I see there's an emoji, but I can't tell what the emoji means. So if you have things to share about what's coming up for you, I'd love for you to reflect. I'm just going to go back to the stream here and respond, acknowledge, and thank people for saying hi. Yanya was checking in from Switzerland ahead of time. I tried to acknowledge Yanya. I don't know if you saw my comment before we got started. Gary, hi Ken. Cannot find you on Twitter or Periscope. I'm logged into both. Well, maybe I'm not there today. I put up a link to Facebook, not to try to direct everyone there, but just to say if you're on my personal page and you want to comment. Peggy at Premier. This is Peggy. Hi, Peggy. Here's Peggy. Cool. And Gary checked in again, and he's saying, hey, I'm on Periscope, Twitter too. Live video looks great and sounds great. Awesome, Gary. I'm actually going to see if I can respond on Twitter. Let me see. Let's just test this right now. I'll just say this. Thanks, Gary. I'm just going to put that comment out on Twitter. Let's see if that goes through. Karen says hi. Lots of awesome messages from Gary. That's beautiful. I don't see any other comments coming in right now. So if there are things that are coming up that you'd like to share, there's someone who is has a tear emoji. Facebook sad Raymond is what it says. Raymond, if you'd like to share in the comments, your emoji came through. I'd love to hear more about what's coming up. Maybe you were just reflecting that emotion is what's coming in for you as we're sitting together, and that can happen. It's not necessary. It doesn't necessarily feel like something that is to be celebrated, but from my perspective, everything that shows up is to be celebrated. And here's why. Because when we're sitting with the divine, when we're embodying our souls, when we're having an experience of the embodied divine presence, everything is animated, everything is enlivened, including the deep, dark sadness that we hold and hide inside ourselves. And when that is enlivened, I invite you to consider that as an opportunity to transmute, to integrate that pain. And the way to do that when we're in transmission together is to feel whatever's coming up. So if it's tears, to allow yourself to feel those things fully. Okay, Susan, I'm seeing a comment. I'm just going to put it up so everyone can see it. Hi, Ken. When I am with someone else who is expressing distress, I can sink into the divine. Yet when I am in distress, it is harder to remember. Yeah. Yeah. Why? That is so, what a powerful insight, Susan. Let me see if I can get out my little, I can comment on this. Let me see if I can just share a few words and then maybe, I think my iPad here, I can do a drawing or two. Uh, I'm giggling because Yanya commented, I saw your response and have no questions, just love sitting with the transmission. Beautiful, Yanya. So, Susan, I'm going to put your comment down and try to respond and see just what comes up here. So, and actually, I think I'm just going to draw a little bit because I think it might be easier for me to convey. And by the way, if you're just hearing my voice right now, at some point, this series is going to become and released as a podcast. I think it's essential that this, let me say this differently. I feel inspired to share the gifts that God expresses through me as widely as possible. And it seems that a podcast would be a really powerful way to do that. So inevitably, there will be people at some point who are listening to this who can't see what I'm drawing. And just understand that I'm trying to convey something for which there are no words and no drawing can. So don't feel that you're at some limitation because you can't see the drawing. Just actually close your eyes if you can and just be with the feeling, be with whatever awareness is coming in for you. Okay, Susan, let me see if I can explain this. So when you're sitting with somebody, your comment was, let me see, let's put your comment up here. When I am with someone else who's expressing distress, okay, here's somebody who's expressing distress. Susan, this is Susan here. She says, I can sink into the divine. So I'm interpreting that to mean she can sink down into her being presence in her hips, right? So she's resonating now. Divine resonance here. Here's the thing. And when someone else is expressing distress, sometimes it depends on who the person is, right? But if we have a strong bond with this person, that could make it harder to be here in being presence. But now the question is, here, oops, Susan, I didn't mean to make your eyes look like they were trying to convey something more. Oh, this is you in distress. Sorry. So now you're not feeling great. The question is, why? So where are you? Are you in your thoughts? Are you in your feelings, your emotions? And where is God? Where's the divine? The divine's down here, right? In the being. So why is it harder to answer this? Here, I'm going to put the comment down just so all the drawing. It's harder because when we're working with ourselves, when we're sitting with ourselves, we have a strong attachment. We're the ones who are feeling it now, right? when I'm having this experience with myself, I am identified with my thoughts, or I'm identified with my emotions. And as long as that's true, it's very difficult to get back to an experience of divine presence. So there's a really easy exercise actually that you can do. If you consider that and let me just put the picture down because I think I'm done. If you consider that coming into the hips is a very simple way to come back to an experience of divine presence, to not be in thinking or feeling, you can do this. So you know this, and by the way, I believe we're all spiritual messengers, right? So everyone sitting here, everyone watching, everyone participating, we're all spiritual messengers. And for some people, that means, I'm a healer, right? And some people, I'm a dad, or I'm a CEO, or I mow lawns, or whatever it is that you do, right? And the doing and your being who you are might be related and might not be related, right? You might be in this powerful place of divine resonance while you're mowing a lawn, or while you're cooking somebody's meal, or your own food, or whatever you're doing. The point is, we're all spiritual messengers. So as spiritual messengers, we have this experience of, let's say, the conscious awareness of our divine presence as we're interacting with another. And so how can we come back to that experience with ourselves when we're in distress? Very easy. We just and you can put your hands against your face or at the top of your head and just slowly move them. And anytime you encounter resistance, just leave them there. You might be really sad, and then just move them a little bit lower. Then you feel some resistance. Just trust whatever's coming up. And eventually you'll move your hands all the way down over your abdomen, down to your hips. You'll feel incredible resonance coming in, and you'll be back in divine presence again. So how's that for an idea, Susan? Okay. Gary reports in and says, Periscope it's twittering. It's working. That's beautiful. Judy says, hi, Ken. If I'm meditating and not in transmission or in the world and processing some past distress and working with it, is it useful to unplug the universal plug? Is it useful to remove the universal plug and then close it when I'm complete? I would say no. Judy, the simple answer is no. Can you please comment, Judy, and let me know if you'd like me to go in deeper into the why? I want to answer the question you're actually asking rather than getting carried away with what I think you're asking. I'm having a good laugh at my own expense here. Yes, she says universal plug. Beautiful. And Susan checks in and says, I love it. Okay, beautiful. I'm glad that was helpful for you, Susan. So Judy, the simple answer is no, you do not need to remove the universal plug. And I wouldn't even recommend it unless ... And then I'll go into that in greater depth if you want me to. She says, no, that's fine. Judy, you know better than to invite me into a long dissertation about something that is so esoteric. Would it really benefit anyone sitting in the circle? I'm having a good laugh at my own expense here. Maybe I am. I'm turning a little red too. This is great. It's good to be embarrassed. Good to find humor with oneself. Okay. I just want to see if there's anything else coming up. If there are any other questions, anyone else checking in, would love to say hi, love to respond. And also, if there's nothing else now, no worries at all. We'll sink in for a few minutes before we wrap up. I will say this while we're kind of up here at the surface. If this is resonating with you and you'd like to explore this at a deeper level, I would invite you to join me and this really amazing group of people from around the world tomorrow for Deep Dive 4, which is a virtual workshop where we take this experience and go to an even deeper level. It makes me giggle because if this is your first time, you may be thinking, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is where it's at. I remember years ago, someone wrote in after they had watched a video of me teaching Divine Connected Breath, and they said, this is opening up so much. And I emailed back, this is the deepest experience. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I emailed back and I said, that's just a guided meditation. Like if you want to open up to a deeper experience, let's connect in energetically. So maybe this is perfect, right? And beautiful. This is what the resource is available here for to support you. If you'd like to go into that deeper experience, into the deep dive tomorrow, it's oops, that's not it. I copied and pasted that link. Let me just grab the other link here. From my perspective, I think this is true for everyone who participates in the deep dive series. It's a pretty extraordinary opportunity. We get together, we all see each other on video. There's a chance to interact at the end. We ask questions and so on. The biggest part, from my perspective at least, of the deep dive, I love interacting. I love connecting. And to dive deep, even deeper into the experience of the divine within, to integrate, to support the integration of that, the embodiment of that, to resonate at this true depth, to begin opening up on an even more profound level. That opportunity is there, and I would love to have you join if it's feeling resonant to you, if it's something you'd like to explore. Okay, I don't see any other comments coming in, no questions being posted. I never heard from, let's see who the sad face was, Raymond. But Raymond, if you'd like to share, and by the way, if you're watching the replay, please do comment there as well. I will interact with you. I'll respond personally to your comments, whether it's on, I can respond to comments on Twitter. I can respond to comments on Facebook. I can respond to comments and will and do respond to comments on YouTube, and so on. And I'll just say this also before we drop in all the way here and come back into a place of silence to close the circle for today. If you haven't already, I really invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, because subscribing, first of all, you get notified. If you click the bell to be notified, you get notified anytime I do a live stream. And this live stream is scheduled, so far I've been able to get online at the right time. Monday, the frequently asked spiritual questions so far is happening at noon. Friday's spiritual messenger tidbits just happens at random points. And who knows when else I'll show up and do live stream. There's a chance for us to interact. Additional videos get posted, all of that. Let me see if I can just post oh, you know what? It's in the description. It's in the description of the video on all the platforms. It says Experience the Divine Within, subscribe to Experience the Divine Within, and then there's a bit.ly link. If you just click that, that'll get you subscribed to the YouTube channel. I don't need to post that again. Okay, here's Gary saying, he's commenting about the deep dive. I love your deep dive sessions, Ken. They're amazing, Bretta. Thank you very much. Love you, man. And see you tomorrow. Beautiful, Gary. Thank you for the kind comments. I love you too. I'm grateful for your presence in the deep dive circle and to everyone who participates in the deep dive. Okay, let's set aside language and drop in a little bit here to close our time together for today. Before we do that, I'm going to drink some water, and I certainly invite you to stay well hydrated. It may not feel like you're doing deep work here, but we are in fact doing some very, very deep work, and being well hydrated is extremely helpful. So I'm going to mute the line so you don't have to hear this, and then we'll do just a little bit of breathing and we'll drop in and then close the circle. Okay. Just invite you to close your eyes again. Maybe they've been closed the whole time. Beautiful. And take a deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything we've explored with words and without words. Just let it all go. Let it all drift away. It's like blanking the slate again, the slate of your divine presence, the body, the mind, the heart, the consciousness that you are. When you release all of that, you open up to receive anew the complete expression that you are of the divine, anew, again and again with each breath. Let's do that again. Another deep breath in and hold. As you begin releasing this breath now, opening more fully to the divine mystery in your mind, in your heart, in your being, in your life and the world, out to the count of 8. Beautiful. Just notice on every level, once you sink in, the dissonance just melts away. The dissonance up here in your mind, the dissonance lower, the noise. Sometimes it doesn't feel like something bad. It's like an air conditioner compressor in the background, just running. We don't know it's there until it stops. It's the same thing when we sink in. Sometimes we don't even realize all the things we're walking around that are buzzing, we're experiencing as some level of dissonance. And when we sink into the interior and then below, totally different perspective begins to reveal itself. Brilliant. I can feel the crown, lots of resonance in the top of the head. You might be feeling that as well. Might not. It's okay either way. And a lot of resonance in the intuitive resources, which are both expressed traditionally in the 6th, but also enlivened profoundly in the 2nd. There's a huge link between the 2nd and the 6th. And then many other expressions of resonance, the divine as you, throughout your entire vessel and being, which are difficult to name, but probably much more substantial, significant, because they're not nameable. And lots of resonance in the crown now. Beautiful. I invite you to begin returning the universal plug. I'll do the same as I begin bringing this transmission to a close. Plug all the way in. Transmission to a close. So grateful for the opportunity to sit and resonate with you. Until we're together again very soon. Peace.